Our mission is very simple. We want to protect consumers from getting scammed. We do that with two brands. The Global Anti-Scam Alliance is a non-profit organization where we bring together law enforcement, governments, consumer protection organizations, and of course the cybersecurity industry to share intelligence on scams and also define concrete solutions on how to fight them. We also have a B2C brand, scamadvisor.com, where consumers can check if a website is legit or a scam. And we have about 6.5 million people checking us every month. Very briefly, how Scam Advisor works: you type in a domain name, and we immediately go through all the open source data and some closed sources, and we come with an explanation why we think it might be likely to be a scam or not. But maybe taking one step back, what are scams? Scams are a weird kind of crime, and it's different from phishing and malware because it's not black and white. It's a crime where you fall for. You give the consumer something, and it's debatable where does bad service end and it becomes a scam. I mean, if you go to Trustpilot, Apple 1.5 stars, ASOS 2 stars, are they scams? No, the service is bad. But to distinguish sometimes is very difficult. I mean, with subscription scams, you see win this Galaxy Watch, subscribe now. And then in font size 2, it says $85 per month. Is it a scam? In our view, yes, but legally, it's debatable. So it's what we see is that there's a gray zone. Where does a bad service end and scams start? How we define it is when there's a huge gap between the product or service being offered and what's actually delivered. And this is just an example because we do see scammers deliver a lot of products so that they can stay to PayPal and the credit card companies. Well, we delivered the product. We don't know what the customer is complaining about. And there are hundreds of types of scams. What we see is it's often the same wine in new bags. I mean, for the record, we started scamming people with the Egyptians, and we have continued up to now. But we see online shops never delivering products. We see investment opportunities with return on investments of 10% guaranteed per week. We see, of course, the extortion scams, the authority scams, etc. Maybe a question to the audience. What do these four pictures have in common? Anybody wants to guess? Sorry, sir? Wheels, thank you. Usually people say it's too good to be true, the prices, but Wheels is also very good. There's one other commonality, they're all on Facebook. So online shopping scams are the most searched kind of scam on Scam Advisor. And the other type we see, the second category, are the investment scams. And of course, most of you will say, well, this is probably too good to be true. But we see, especially in developing countries where people don't have the financial knowledge, they think this might be a great offer. But also in the Western world, we fall for investment scams. I still find this one a great example. 2 years ago on Netflix, we had the Squid Game series, very popular. And a scammer thought, well, I'm going to launch a Squid Game crypto coin. And within a few days, he collected $3.4 million until Netflix was able to take down the website. So, moral of the story is anybody can fall for a scam. Maybe a small wager to keep you awake for the next coffee round. What's the third most searched category of scams on Scam Advisor? Anybody want to guess? It's adult content. Sorry, guys. And I think that's one of the most underestimated kind of scams we see. Adult content can be extortion. It can be that nobody says that you're actually talking to a robot. But we see that it's the third most searched category on Scam Advisor. Of course, in some cases, scam victims can know better. Buy your verified PayPal account, buy guns, buy your driver's license. Nobody goes to the police and says, I ordered my master thesis online and it got never delivered. And some stories are weird. Recently, we had a Japanese lady. She paid a scammer 35,000 euros. She had built up a romantic relationship with him for months. He claimed to be an astronaut stuck in space, and he needed money to go home. And it's a true story. And well, of course, we have to smile a little bit. It was an old lady, and she lost 35,000 euros. You have to give scammers one thing. They're great marketeers. They use every event possible, every crisis, every trend to scam people. And we all know about the Ukraine war and the Indonesian scams, but even the death of Queen Elizabeth last year was used to say, okay, you can buy tickets to the funeral, £5,000. And yes, people did get scammed. But scammers are not only fun guys. They really know how to use vulnerabilities. And a few years ago, the state of Texas decided to no longer allow people to buy abortion pills. And a few months before that legislation came into effect, we already saw the first online stores popping up offering abortion pills, targeting especially young women in Texas. And it didn't stop with the product not being delivered and the money taken. Then it became extortion, saying, you ordered these pills, we know where you are online, and if you don't pay us more or do other things for us, we will tell your family and friends. So it's really a very, very malicious business.
Okay. I meet the person on Facebook, and this person offered me to investing money. That was on the beginning $15 for 2 days for mining, and I done this. I said, okay, $50 that it's not, not a lot. Why don't try? But on another day, I get them email from the company that I have to pay 20% from this what I've got there. That was 120 from all earnings, which one I had, and if I don't pay this, it's possibility that I lost everything. I paid this 120, and I wanted to withdraw on another day, straight away. When I press that I want to take withdraw, they send me a message that I have to pay another 300.
I had to interview this lady a while back. In the end, she lost everything. She lost all her savings, which was £2,000. And this happens on a daily basis with thousands of people. We see that scams are blurring. Pig butchering is named a lot, which is a terrible name. But recently I had a professor in AI who was pig butchered, not romantically. He had a company, 15 people, in AI trading, forex trading, and he was looking for investors. And he was fattened up for 6 months by investors, and in the end he fell for the trap. He paid them 500,000 euros to make the transaction of the investment of 15 million possible. And this is a guy with probably an IQ of 140 plus. So it can happen to all of us. And the scammer is taking time. It can be 6 months, it can be 12 months. I have spoken to victims who had been in a relationship with their scammer for over 3 years, and they were still believing, while they were continuously giving him money, that it's the real person, that he really loves her or him. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, with online shopping scams, you might probably have had the emails, your product is at customs, thank you for ordering, but you need to pay a custom fee. And once you have paid your custom fee, there's another environmental tax and another tax and another tax. You never get your product, but you keep paying. And especially with cryptocurrency victims, we have the donkey lists. They're shared on the dark web, they're sold, and then the same scammer or a new scammer approaches the victim saying, I see you lost your investment, but we have great news. We were able to recover your money. You only have to pay an administration fee of 15%. And then after the administration fee, there's a conversion fee and another fee, and the victim is paying because he still believes that he can get his money back. What we do every year is we create the Global State of Scam report, where we look at 35 plus countries. And this year we took a different approach. We interviewed nearly 50,000 consumers worldwide, asking them, were you scammed in the last 12 months? Did you lose money? Our biggest challenge, I think, is, and was already discussed a little bit earlier, is that 69% of the participants believe that they are either confident or very confident that they can recognize scams. However, most of the people who answered our survey also admitted being scammed in the last 12 months. So there's a huge discrepancy between the level of confidence people have and the reality. We also see that the number of people who are getting at least a scam email, a WhatsApp message, a Facebook ad, which they consider a scam, to be huge. 59% said, I have been approached by a scam message in the last month. More than 8% says I'm getting them every day. So we're being bombarded at the moment by scam messages. 45% of the people also said it's increasing. The number of scam messages is growing. Only a fraction of that, 3%, said no, I actually received less. What's interesting is the medium used. Across the 35 countries we looked at, there are huge differences. I mean, I'm from the Netherlands. I expected online to be by far the biggest, but it's actually not true. Phone calls, text messages still rule. Also in countries like the UK, they're still one of the most used media. Interestingly enough, Americans get the most mail, postal mail, to get scams. So there are huge differences per country. We also asked which platform, which medium was used. And maybe not a very big surprise, Facebook and WhatsApp are coming out of top. But followed very quickly by Gmail, Google Search, etc. Those are the most used media, also logical because they're biggest, but I think there is a challenge there. Again, huge changes per media. In some countries, they're not so big, so it changes. But in general, the big tech companies are also the ones most misused. We also asked all the participants, have you had a real scam experience in the last 12 months? Which of the following happened to you? Did you lose money in an online shopping scam, identity theft, investment scam? Online shopping scams are by far the biggest, followed by identity theft and investment scams. What is a surprise for me is the amount of re-victimization. We see that on average, a victim is, once you're a scam victim, you are on average scammed twice in that same year. And actually that's nothing new. We see that also with burglaries. I mean, first the burglar comes and steals all your stuff out of your house, and then 2 or 3 months later, he comes again to steal the new stuff. So it's not something new, but it's remarkable. The most scammed countries we see are actually developing countries, with Kenya having the honor of people being scammed the most, but very closely followed by Brazil, Argentina, South Africa, and several countries in Southeast Asia and China. As I said before, re-victimization. Also here, Kenya has the honor to lead with 3 scams per scam victim. The average amount being stolen differs hugely per country. And it especially has to do with investment scams. And we see that, of course, the richer the country, the more money is lost. For an Indian person, an investment scam, a money loss might be $150, which is a huge amount. For a person from Switzerland, it's 3,700 euros. But the investment scams are the ones which are really increasing the global average a lot. And gentlemen, we have a slightly higher chance of being scammed than ladies. If you look at the GDPR, then again, Kenya is unfortunately ruling. We added up all the money lost, and we came up to an amount of $1 trillion being lost in the last 12 months by scam victims. And 25% of the participants said, yes, I've experienced at least one scam and I lost money. And what we see here is clearly, again, that the developing countries are taking the grunt compared to their GDP, with next to Kenya, Brazil, India, Thailand, Egypt having very high ratios of money lost compared to GDP. We also asked, did the participant try to recover his money? There, I can be short. Most don't, a lot don't try. 62% tried, but was not able to recover their money. What we see here is that there's a clear relationship between if a victim reports the scam to the police and the chance of getting his money back. I know it sounds logical, but it's, I think, also crucial that we keep pushing people to report scams, because there is an increase in getting the money back. We also asked the emotional impact. It's not only about money loss, especially with romance scams, you're hurt in two ways, financially and emotionally. And there we see that 59% of the people who got scammed, it's a different kind of when somebody takes something from you, steals it from you, but you didn't interact with it, you didn't give your information or you didn't give your money. So somehow scams seem to be emotionally a very terrible kind of crime. Interestingly enough, and I don't know why, is that elderly significantly perceive the emotion, are less emotionally impacted than the average person. And I don't know why that is. Why do people get scammed? Also here, huge differences. But there is some background here. We see that I was attracted to the offer is especially with people with lesser incomes and from developing countries. They are more vulnerable to the offer being made, which can be an online product or an investment. In developing countries, and especially with people with higher incomes, we see, I had my doubts, but I made a gamble. I tried it anyway. So there are different motivations. But very honestly, also not recognizing the scam at all is named a lot. We also ask which methods do you use to see if something is a scam, yes or no. And the most common reason is I checked reviews on other websites like Trustpilot, SiteJabber. I don't know about you, but I have the feeling that the number of fake reviews is increasing very rapidly. And my concern here is that we're educating people to use methods to see if something is a scam or not. But those methods no longer work, because a lot of people still check if there's a valid SSL certificate. And especially in India, Italy, Kenya, they check, is there an SSL certificate? And as you know, any scammer buys it. I mean, it's free, and every scammer makes sure that he has an SSL certificate. Same with checking reviews on the same website. So a lot of consumers are using old recommendations, which we advised in the 20 years ago, and they're still using them. Actually, my own government is saying to consumers, check reviews. Well, I think with the number of fake reviews, that might not be the best advice. But also now, with newer kinds of scams, I mean, it's often being said that romance scammers will never do a video call with you. It's not true. Yes, they use deep fakes, but also scammers often do show their face and do have a video interaction with you. So we have to be very careful with giving rules to recognize scams to consumers. Our biggest challenge, I think, is that consumers are getting tired of it. We got a lot of feedback that if I report it to the police, they cannot do anything about it. But on the other hand, the police needs the information to identify scam networks, and we need to keep pushing consumers to report scams to law enforcement. Other reasons for not reporting the scam are, I don't know where to go, and we see a lot of countries you can report the scam to banks, telecom operators, credit card companies. It's all around it. or it's too complicated to report a scam. Finally, we also asked the consumers how happy they are with their government, protecting them, making them aware, helping them identify scams, giving them protection and arresting scammers. Very interesting, the people in Brazil and Thailand, one of the few worst scoring countries in general, they were not very happy with their governments. Governments with a more strict regime, I would say, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and China, people were in general quite positive. And I do notice that China is doing a lot to protect their citizens from scams. So for the record, this is only the tip of the iceberg we're seeing. We see that scam reporting is very, very low. Depending on the country, it's between 5 and about 20%. We now see that in most countries, scams are either the number 2 or number 1 most reported kind of crime to law enforcement. In the UK, it's 41% of the reports by consumers to law enforcement are related to online fraud. In Singapore, it's 50%. And we see that scammers are going pro. We see that there are now prison compounds in Southeast Asia, but also in Brazil and in Africa, where people are being lured with, you can get a great job behind a computer, their passport is taken away, and they're forced to scam people for 12 hours a day following scripts. I don't have to explain you because you know there are all kinds of scripts and tools out there which make it very easy for people to scam. You don't have to have any technical knowledge anymore. I see a lot of people making pictures of me. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to share the PowerPoint later. My biggest concern is scams are becoming unrecognizable. One last question to the audience. Is this a scam or is this legit? Scam. Raise your hand. Is it a scam? Is it legit? Nobody raises his hand, it's legit. It's legit. I don't know why, but Facebook is using facebookmail.com for their email communication. How can you make it so difficult for consumers to recognize scams? We also see that AI is being used to create products now. So, somebody was very creative and said, make me a picture of a bat, combine it with Darth Vader. And the problem is consumers can no longer compare these unique products because they do not exist and they're buying them. And of course, deepfakes are becoming already standard. I myself have been approached by a deepfake scammer 3 months ago. I was looking for a developer. He approached me via LinkedIn, and only because I thought he's supposed to be from Serbia, but his accent is a little bit Asian, I asked, would you mind removing your glasses? And then the connection broke. And 2 weeks later, I was approached with the same script, the same GitHub Lab account, asking, hey, are you interested in a developer? Scammers are winning. And we see that countries, or actually not countries, but certain villages, certain groups of people are specializing. We see, of course, Nigeria with the advanced fee scams, China with the fakes and non-delivery, and my own country building a dubious reputation in bulletproof hosting. And they're out of control. In the UK, 41%, as I said before, of scams, of all crime now reported to law enforcement are related to online fraud. 2.5% of the cases are prosecuted, not meaning that they actually get the guy, he is being prosecuted. Worldwide, according to the World Economic Forum, only 0.05% of all cyber crimes are actually prosecuted. So how can we turn the tide? And we just had a discussion about awareness. I do think awareness is important, but according to recent research, it doesn't actually help. It doesn't reduce the victimization rate. And the reason why is that once people are educated, they become more confident, and when they become more confident, they also are starting to take other kinds of risks. So awareness, always good, but it doesn't solve the solution. So at our recent summit last year, we came together with about 1,000 people virtually, 125 physically, and we brainstormed for 2 days on how can we turn the tide on scams. And these were the solutions being raised, the recommendations. So from awareness to protecting consumers on an infrastructure level, because you cannot demand consumers to recognize scams, to building a global fraud database. This year, on the 18th and 19th of October, you're very welcome to join as CTA members. Very happy to give you free access to join our summit and not only to brainstorm further. How can we turn those recommendations into concrete actions and really protect consumers better? If you're interested, you have to hurry because we probably are sold out tomorrow. But please let me know if you'd like to come to Lisbon. What else can we do together? We are trying to share as much data as possible to help law enforcement and cybersecurity identify scam networks faster. And one of the tools we have launched now in 50 countries is a white label version of Scam Advisor, where together with local telecom operators, marketplaces, chambers of commerce, the police, government, we try to build a website where consumers in that country can go to check if a website is legit or a scam. And of course, we share our data with as many organizations as possible, and they use it to protect consumers. And that, in the end, is our goal. So with that, I'm running out of time. I see the 1 minute. I have 1 minute for questions.